morning. These are your BYU-Idaho Radio morning headlines for Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Thanks for listening. I'm Jill Clary. BYU-Idaho's assessment manager delivered an address about life's hardships and perseverance. Jody Robinson compared life to getting an education and said both circumstances require and invite growth.
Most of the lessons and tests we experience at school and in life are not big finals. That's because learning and testing aren't about singular performances. They are about shaping and molding learners into a more refined version of themselves. Much of that shaping comes in small, seemingly insignificant moments.
In an interview with BYU-Idaho Radio, we asked Robinson why this topic for BYU-Idaho students. She said the forthright answer was sacred to her.
The truth is I don't have a memory of writing this talk. After I wrote it and started reviewing it, I know what it says, but the initial writing is not what I set out to write.
Robinson said one way she endures life's hardships is looking to the future she will and does have with her family and Heavenly Father. She said the same hope and knowledge can help others in their efforts through life as well. She said we are put on earth not just to pick up a body, but to prove and be tested.
We may not all be experiencing the same tests, but we're experiencing tests for the same reason. We may be individually walking our own path, but we are collectively experiencing what heaven designed for us to experience so that we could go back home.
BYU-Idaho students taking the public history class this semester will present their findings of the changing meaning of Main Street in Rexburg between 1950 and 2000 in an exhibit. Each semester he teaches the class, Professor Roger Wiblin does a local project for his public history students to learn more about what he calls oral history and connection.
Our first one was disappearing Rexburg buildings that used to be here, but people remember a lot about. And so this connection, oral history, which is what I'm trying to teach students, the experience of interviewing, it's developing oral history skills, which is part of public history, right? And so what would be something that we local people would have knowledge and feel something about?
The change in meaning of Main Street Rexburg has changed with each passing generation. So students were asked to interview past residents and older local residents to ask them what Main Street means. BYU-Idaho student Cora Chadwick interviewed a past resident who now lives in Utah.
She said something along the lines of everyone knew everyone, which I think we've lost kind of just on Main Street itself, just because people don't live there as much. It's not a hub of commerce. But I also think it's expanded a little more, which I think is hard for some people to see, because instead of just being residents who've lived there for years and it's just the families, it's now moved to international students, to students coming in and out of Rexburg, to just hanging out in Rexburg itself.
The idea to focus on Main Street and its oral history is so students as well as the visitors of the exhibit can reach what Wiblin describes as an understanding.
There was this connection with the school in town, and some of it was based around commerce, right? Because Main Street was the place where you went to buy clothes, and there were food places and whatever it is, right? And so clearly in the context we live in now, that's changed, right? And so it's understanding. And for me, history is about understanding what's happened and about being empathetic in understanding what was the experience that people had before? And I always like the whys. I want to know why, right? Why does stuff happen?
The exhibit, Community Connection Commerce Rexburg, 1950 to 2000, located on the south walkway of the BYU-Idaho Center near the track, will feature an atmosphere of Main Street throughout the years with posters and old signs. The open house for the exhibit is this Thursday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and will feature a wide range of activities and opportunities for unique prizes. The exhibit will then stay open until July 24th. Police officers responded to a 911 call reporting a stabbing in Idaho Falls on July 4th. The call was made at 2:45 a.m. The police located the victim in the Fred Meyer parking lot at 2250 North Yellowstone Highway and immediately started providing aid until Idaho Falls Fire EMS arrived to take over and transported the victim to the local hospital. Local News 8 reports the officers learned that the victim had at the nearby Shady Rest campground, where he had been involved with an altercation with another man, later identified as Mariano Rodriguez, who used a knife to stab the victim. The victim was driven to the Fred Meyer parking lot by another person who then called 911. Rodriguez had left Shady Rest campground, but detectives determined that he was at a residence in the 1100 block of Mojave Street. After obtaining a search warrant, the IFPD SWAT team went to the address on Sunday, making announcements directing Rodriguez to exit the residence. Rodriguez exited the residence and was placed under arrest without incident. He was then taken to a hospital for clearance due to injuries injuries sustained during the altercation with the victim. The 30-year-old Idaho Falls resident was booked into the Bonneville County Jail. These have been your BYU-Idaho Radio morning headlines for July 9th, 2025. Thanks for tuning in. More news, interviews, and great content are available on our podcast feed. Search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast apps. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and more. You can also ask your smart speakers to play KBYI 94.3 FM. Have a great day. This is BYU-Idaho Radio, and I'm Jill Clary.